Good morning. Welcome to the June 21st session. Before we start, we always open with a prayer, and today we have Pastor Jason Bowman from the Solid Rock Church. Thank you, Jason, for coming.
Thank you, commissioners, and thank you, everybody, for coming to hear me pray today. Let's bow our heads together as we open. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this great nation that we live in and the democracy that we share. We also thank you for Jesus, who was born to set us free from sin. So today we ask that you cover our nation, break political division and racial tension, and surround us with love and unity. We ask that you break chains of opioids, physically and in the spirit, and teach us how to prefer our fellow man. We ask for wisdom to be given to Ms. Corcoran, Mr. Painter, and Ms. Batchelor today. In financial decisions and fiscal responsibility, guide them to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. In other decisions, Lord, like Solomon, help them to be just and have wisdom beyond their years. For you said if we need wisdom, we could ask, and you would give it liberally. Surround them with faithful, creative, and hardworking people as they go forward in elected positions. And we thank you that you give all of us the tools we need to accomplish our destiny. Most of all, help us all to cling to mercy and truth. For you said in doing so in Proverbs 3, that we'll have good understanding and favor with you and with man. We thank you for mercy, wisdom, and direction as your kingdom comes and your will is done. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Jason. Commissioner Corcoran, you want to lead us in the pledge?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, board, we're going to move item H up before item B today. And with that, Greg Bickford, you're going to do a presentation.
And I'm going to go on a limb and say most people are here because of solar. So, Mr. Scheiben's here if you want to put up the slide. So, board, let me kind of give you a little bit of history. We'll go back to the start of Senate Bill 52 back in 2021. It talked about various changes to the Ohio Revised Code that have to deal with large-scale solar. We're talking about nameplate capacity of 50 megawatts and greater to give new powers to the Board of County Commissioners. Just kind of a brief overview. The board kind of directed our planning department at the time, Taylor Corbett, Scott Gafford, went out to townships. All the information was sent out about kind of some of the changes. They went out and made some presentations in various townships. Just kind of let people know about the process for this Senate Bill 52, because ultimately it is the Board of County Commissioners that can pass a resolution that may adopt a resolution designating all or part of the unincorporated area of a county as a restricted area, prohibiting the construction of any or all of the following wind farms, large solar facilities, and it lists kind of details about how you do that. So we're at the stage now where we've presenting the information to the townships. It's the township's decision on what they want to do, and several townships have sent us a resolution requesting that the Board of County Commissioners prohibit these types of facilities in their township. So there's the map there. I'll just kind of briefly go over some of the other things that this deals with. So if the board is to pass a resolution, we had to do a couple of things. Number one, we had to publish a map and the date, time, and place of the public hearing or public meeting, that was published as today at 10 a.m. local time. The map was distributed per the Ohio Revised Code to every public library in the county. Notice this meeting was sent to all townships and municipal corporations and school districts that are within the proposed restricted area. As you can see from the map up there, that is our proposed restricted area. The entirety of the townships of Stone Lake, Jackson, Batavia, Williamsburg, Tate, Monroe, and Washington. Each township did submit a resolution to the board requesting that they put that designation on. Should the board take any type of action on a resolution, there are ways to modify that resolution, and involves us repeating this process again. Obviously, we didn't hear from a couple of townships, and that's their choice. They can certainly do whatever they want, but the decision rests with the Board of County Commissioners as to what you want to do. With that being said, there's not really much of a presentation. It's a request by those townships for this prohibition. So I will end there unless you have any questions of me. Mr. Schreiber from the prosecutor's office is here as well. If you have any questions of him. at this point in the meeting, we move on to public participation where there can be discussion really about any issue brought before the county.
I have one question. At a later time, other townships can
Absolutely.
submit.
That is correct. And then the process for us to modify this resolution basically is a repeat of what we've just done. Now, any resolution you pass is subject to referendum, just like any resolution. And so there is a provision to do that as well.
I would just add one thing to what Mr. Bickford said, Brian Schreiber with the prosecutor's office, to the commissioners. The townships that are subject to the notice today of the meeting today and the resolution that you may or may not vote on today, those were the townships who submitted their resolutions prior to the notice going out and were listed in the notice. Since then, other townships have submitted. However, because the notice specifically identified those areas, the townships who submitted after the notice went out, they won't be part of today's determination. So that the board would have to come back, as Greg said. But I just want to make sure that there was an understanding. There are some that are kind of in the pipeline potentially.
Okay, and those would have to be heard at a later date.
Correct. Another notice and 30-day notice and all that.
You would have to go through the exact same process that you've done for these 7 today.
Correct. And I would just note, I know that this is one proposal, one way of limiting solar is to do this map and prohibit it in certain areas. The statute does also provide that any future proposed large-scale solar projects, which is what this relates to, the commissioners do have essentially a veto authority over, regardless of whether there's a map or not.
Yeah, the code states that if the restricted area is passed, then no application may be accepted. That's the big differentiator between the two.
So, Mr. Schreiber, just for you a second, if one of these 7 townships in the future from now, let's just say theoretically a year from now, came to the Board of Commissioners and said, we've been approached by a particular company that would like to look at particular parcels within our township that we think are very, very favorable to that. What is the process for basically setting those parcels aside so they could be used for?
I believe the board would have to set up a new meeting, the whole process to remove those from the restricted area. But as another example, we've got, for instance, Ohio Township is not listed in that list. I'm just picking that out of randomly. If 2 weeks from now, there was a proposal to place a large-scale solar in Ohio Township, the commissioners would have that opportunity to review and approve it or disapprove it or modify it before it was able to be approved. So there's, I think that the point I just want to make sure is that the commissioners understand and that the folks in the audience understand is that there's multiple checks. There's multiple opportunities for checks.
And if a decision is made today by this board, is that decision referendable?
It is. And I think the next question that you may have is the decision on approving or disapproving a particular unit. If someone comes for Ohio Township, again, just as an example, and the commissioners say no to that large scale solar project in Ohio Township, that's this hypothetical, there's no referendum to that. The decision is the decision. But yes, if the commissioners vote on a map today, either all or some of the proposed map, it would be subject to a referendum. And if the commissioners, if you come back at a future date and amend it again, another referendum would.
And just for clarity, the decision today, as you take a broad sweep of Clermont County and restrict particular areas, is referendable. If you handle that decision based on a project by project basis, that decision is not referendable.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
303.59 talks about the referendum of the resolution itself.
So we'll move on to C, public participation. Has everyone signed in? Okay, so
Can you sign in? Got a couple more, Bonnie.
Go through the rules.
Yeah.
We each get 5 minutes. Is that what it is?
I'm going to read this.
Yep.
Okay, at this point, I would like to read a statement for everyone. We've reached the public participation section of the agenda. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board today? Okay. Where'd Brian go? Brian, are you going to be the one to swear them in later?
We do not.
There's no swearing.
No swearing in?
Not a public hearing.
This is a public
That's
meeting,
right.
not a
As soon
hearing,
as I
so
said that, I
witnesses-
knew that was wrong.
Public comment does not need to be sworn.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
We just wanted you to stay longer.
I was thinking the same thing up until a few
I
minutes
know.
ago.
As soon as I said that, I thought, no.
Great minds think alike.
Okay, so, really? So during this time, the board does not answer questions nor engage in a debate. No member of the public may comment about a matter that is not within the purview of the county commissioner's responsibilities. The commissioners are not expected to comment on matters brought to the board during this time. Each speaker shall only speak once and shall be recognized by the board president before speaking. In accordance with the board's rules of procedure, your comments are limited to 5 minutes. So we just go by,
Go right down the names.
do we have it?
Yeah, I think it's still signing.
Can we just do by raise of hand?
Sure. Yeah, if you want to.
You want to raise your hands again, those that want to speak? Rusty, you want to go ahead? 5 minutes, please.
It's all you.
Morning, my name is Rusty Durbin. I'm Tate Township residents. Come here to speak to you all about the solar. One of the biggest concern is the watershed. I have a map for you guys for the watershed in the whole township. Can I give it to you?
Give it to me. Yes, it over.
And like I said, the biggest concern I have is we're using out of New Richmond, 8.7 million gallons of water a day is taken out for drinking water. East Fork is 3.8 million gallons per day drinking water. And Miamiville's 1.7 million a day drinking water. You know, we don't have the Camp Lejeune here as far as that goes. I don't know if you guys visited the crime scene out there or not. Oh, I don't know if you visited the crime scene out there or not. If you didn't, shame on you. It's a mess out there. People are heartbroken. I've talked to probably over 1,000 people or more since this thing started. I had 3 people who was okay with it. Now, you know, you guys represent us, and there's some things going on out there that needs to be looked into. Trying to think of what else I can think. The watershed is the biggest thing. You know, if you in the destroying of the property, I've talked to residents out there that's seen deer every day, haven't seen them for months. It's destroying the roads out there. And the thing about it, you know, we're dealing with a foreign country. We're dealing with a foreign country, and they sell. So, you know, if you do good the term of your farm, so in 20 or 30 years it happens, you go back to get your farm put back in place. Well, you go to this company, he sold it, this company, he sold it. Well, get a judgment from a foreign country to put your farm back in place. It ain't gonna happen. You know, like I said, it just I'm speaking for the people out there. I spoke to thousands of people, okay, in the last 6 months, and I had 3 people was okay with it, and one don't even live in the county. So, I mean, guys, this has got to stop. I know the 50 and up is gone, okay? We need to worry about the 49 and down to 6, because that's the ones who will come in there, and what they're going to do, they're going to come in and start taking 20 acres here, 20 acres here. And I talk to people every day that's been approached to lease their farms. You know, they come out with a big handful of money and a contract this thick and sign it on the hood of a pickup truck. You know, and you guys can do something about it, and the township trustees can do something about it. Thank you.
Ma'am, please state your name.
My name is Mary Durbin. Good morning. My name is Mary Durbin. And I'm standing in for the residents of Tate Township who could not attend this meeting today, many of whom are working, earning a modest living to pay their taxes and put food on the table. I also speak on their behalf when I express the destruction and devastation that has taken place in Tate Township and in our little community. Have all of you taken time to honor your oath and visit what a few with power are calling progress. I would deplore you to do it. It will break your heart. Break your heart. Almost 700 acres of pure hell. One road over from us. One road over from our dream. No one with a beating heart could look at this destruction and honestly say, yes, I think this is great. Absolutely no one. Imagine building your little dream home in the country, putting all of your life savings into that home, and having those same people who believe they are God destroy everything you have ever worked for. That's what's happening. You don't have to be an accountant to understand this math. These companies are offering the farmers big money. I will say $2,000 at this point is a modest amount. Take 200-acre farm times $2,000 an acre for 1 year. They're going to pay $400,000 an acre to lease your land. On another modest year frame, say 20 years, they're offering more. They're going to pay what they say is $8 million in that 20 years to lease your farm. Those figures do not add up. There is no 200-acre farm in Clermont County that is worth $8 million, and that is a conservative figure. Who in their right mind is going to pay $8 million? No one. Most of the solar companies are LLCs, filing bankruptcy every few years, foreign-owned, with offices in the U.S. Most people don't know that. Because these are fairly new types of businesses, no one really knows the destructive outcome. But again, with a little common sense, you know who'll be cleaning up this mess? The taxpayers, as always. Let's talk about some real facts. Besides the complete destruction these solar farms are causing, they're also toxic. They are. You can't dispute that. Solar panels are labeled hazardous material even by the EPA. The toxins they release in the water shedding alone should be a reason to shut it down. But no, there are many more reasons. Unknown impact and risk to our future generations, our kids and our grandkids. Let that sink in. If you have kids and grandkids, think about that. We are going to be gone. They are going to have to take care of it. Aggressive change in our environment and our wildlife habitat. It's why people move to the country. Decrease in property value. I'm not just saying that. It's a fact. We've talked to many realtors, especially up around Mount Orb. They're seeing an 18 to 20% decrease in property value, and that's just a start. Once the people up there find out what's really happening, it's going to be a lot more. Unseen cleanup. As I stated earlier, these companies have a pretty good understanding of what that looks like. Why do you think they're leasing in most cases? Why aren't they buying these farms? Foreign owned. Why are we selling out to the highest bidder? Have we forgotten the words, it's not for sale? As there is so much more I could say today, and 5 minutes can never cover such damage we are doing to our community, as well as to the hopes and dreams of residents who live there. I want to finish up by asking those who are sitting on the board a question. How are you so blessed to get this position? The voters of this community trusted you. I campaigned for a couple of you. They trusted you to listen and to work on their behalf. That's all they asked. Not for just a few who are out for power and greed, but for all the little working class people of the community. Those are the people of the community who voted to put you in office. It's always been that way. But the ones with the power and the greed buy their way. Let me leave you with this one thought. This life is a vapor. As I look around the room, many of us are getting closer and closer to making critical decisions for the last time. We are. Many people today don't believe they will ever be accountable for their actions. I know and believe otherwise. We are here to make a difference, to protect and value all the gifts we were graciously given. Not one of us did anything good without grace and mercy. And not one of us here today will leave with a Brinks truck or a moving truck following us to our next destination. I am asking that you do the right thing for our community. And one last thing that I do not have written down, but I would like to say. Part of this comes back down to the community. We as community members do not go to the meetings. Shame on us. Shame on anybody here that does not attend the meetings. And I will be the first one in line to say shame on me. I am not too proud to say that. But from this day forward, and it started in December of 2022, that will never happen again. This is not something I wanted to pick up. But there are times in life where we do things that we have to do. And we are going to make a schedule for our community. And not, if everybody can't be there, that's fine. There are going to be people there every single month representing our community that are going to be bringing the news back to all of us. And if this is what I need to do, if this is my mission that I never looked to do, if I need to go from township to township and express how that can be done for people to come and make a schedule so that they can represent their community, that's what I'm going to do, because this has to be stopped. Thank you.
Before the next speaker comes up, please let me state one more time, 5-minute limit, please, so that we can get everyone through that wants to speak. Next person? Yes. Your name, ma'am?
Good morning. I'm Peg Fisher. I'm a resident of Miami Township in Clermont County. I grew up in Cincinnati on the west side, sorry to say, but I've made the great move to beautiful Clermont County. We came here in the 1990s when my husband took a position as service director for the township. Prior to that, in the 1980s, he and I made a good living in eastern Kentucky, where his family operated coal leases. And when the lady speaks about the devastation to the land, the damage, if you've not seen mountaintop removal, if you've not seen the results of a strip mine and the toxins that are in the sludge, we heated our home with coal. So he worked in a strip mine. He brought a truckload of coal home. I know how to bank a coal furnace. Not sure many of you know how to do that, but I'm also really aware, I became aware then, of the dangers of coal. We came back to Cincinnati in 1990 because a third of the houses were on the market and the coal industry in Kentucky, in eastern Kentucky, had died. It wasn't politics, it was strictly economics. Natural gas was getting cheaper. Fracking was becoming more popular in greater use. So it was a matter of economics. And that's, I think, that transition was hard, but I think that's the same type of transition that we're seeing now, because at this point, solar and wind are cheaper energy sources than coal is. That's just the reality that we're facing. And we know that money drives this country. My husband and I, in 2014, built a home here in Clermont County. It is a net zero home. So we have a 12.5 kilowatt panel system on our roof. I do love to watch my meter run backwards. Most months, Duke Energy owes me money. So it covers the cost of my home. It covers the most of driving that I do in my car. So for me, when I get off of 450 and I look up and see my panels, that sounds like freedom to me. I don't have to worry about where my oil and my energy is coming from, because it's coming from the sun. So I am certainly very concerned about the future of our children, the future of our farmland. Agriculture is a huge piece of the Ohio economy. So is tourism. We're all here to protect the well-being of our children. I was a principal here in the county at St. Thomas More for 13 years. And every day when I went to work, my top priority was making sure that those kids were safe. And that's when last week, the Ohio River Basin Caucus met in Washington, D.C., and the Ohio River was named the #2 endangered river in the country. We have to make some hard decisions, and I understand that transition is difficult, but I think that we need to look at all options when we're talking about energy sources to save our future. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Vince Irvin. I live in Franklin Township. I've been a resident of Clermont County for 33 years. I guess I come from it from a different perspective from what I've heard so far. I've made a career in the construction industry. I've worked at Bickford-Restricted. I've worked at Zimmer Plant. I build the infrastructure here in Clermont County and the surrounding counties. I lay gas lines, natural gas lines, water, storm, sanitary. If you've driven on a road or facility in this area, I probably worked on it at some time in my career. Just like the speaker before, I'm concerned that if we completely waive off these areas of prohibiting solar, any type of wind or solar construction, where are we going to get our power from? We know now that Duke cannot supply adequate power to our needs, for our needs today, and I don't think they're going to be able to in the future. So I would ask you to consider not prohibiting solar on these projects. I'd like to go back to say that where I live now, the Nestlewood project in Clermont County, is about 2 miles from my house. So I drive by there. We have construction workers on that project today working, building those solar farms, and they'll be there when the solar farm is complete with the maintenance department or the maintenance division of the solar farms. I've worked down at Bickford-Restricted, I've worked down at Zimmer, and I think we can all attest that those are ugly facilities on the river. However, I've worked many man hours, and my fellow construction workers worked many man hours on those facilities to provide power to Clermont County residents. Now that those power plants are shut down, it's alarming and concerning to me of where we're going to get our energy from. So when we turn on the lights at home, we watch TV, our kids need to do homework, unless we go back to well oil. We need all types of infrastructure to supply power in Ohio and Clermont County. I would also encourage the commissioners that if these projects are to be built in Clermont County, that you demand that they be done with companies that pay a good living wage for the residents, and that a pension is part of that wage package, as well as insurance. As a construction laborer out of Labor's Local 265 in Cincinnati, that career has been able to provide college education for my daughters. My wife and I purchased a home on 774 35 years ago, and it's been a good living. I like living in Clermont County. We're heavily invested in the county as well. But just think about the prohibiting this work in this area. Where are we going to get our energy sources from if we eliminate things like this? So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chad Day. I'm a representative with the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers in Cincinnati, Ohio. We do have members, and I'm representing the members that we do have here in Clermont County. I'm in favor of any type of energy that we can make more affordable, or that we can make more abundant in our area. This is how we can attract more jobs and more good paying jobs to our region. I'm sure that you guys already know, and you've seen that Intel is making a huge investment in the state of Ohio. And I would hope that having abundant energy and the ability to attract companies like that, or companies that are going to use the chips or the devices, or even create the devices that use the chips, they're going to be looking for places to build and to do those things with. I think that Clermont County might be a nice place to do that. It is a beautiful place. And I noticed that Mr. Painter had requested some additional information about how you guys can stop these projects in the future. And they're almost like a one-on-one basis. I think that would be a good way to handle those so that people from the community, when these are going to be happening, they can come here and they can talk about that, and they can convince the commissioners that are here that it's not good for that community. And you can make that decision based off of what's happening. Not that we blanket off half of the entire county and really restrict it and make it very difficult for business to come here and do business. I think that if we come to Clermont County, we should be a little bit more open, and we have an abundance of electricity because we've thought forward and we've made plans so that our grandchildren and the people in the future have the resources to be able to do the things they need to do. So I hope that you take that into consideration as you make your decision moving forward. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name's William Gabriel. I've been a resident here since I was a kid. I'm 72 years old. Huh?
What was your name again?
William Gabriel.
Thank you.
I've talked to Randy or David before about the sewer line up on Chapel and 222. It turned into a nightmare to run that pipeline. I had no voice in that pipeline. They're running right against my property. They're going to destroy all the shade trees and everything right on the property line. And I got my own problems with them. But the solar panels are not a polluting factor. I'm for the solar panels, and there's an old law that comes from our forefathers. Make the best use of the land. Make the best use of it. Now, it could be reconverted back to farm ground, but right now, farm ground is really at a premium, okay? But if you go back to the law to protect the farmer, that farmer has a right that owns that property, and he can put up a sign that there'll be bad, obnoxious smells and everything, okay? There's all kinds of laws on the books about obnoxious weeds that grow in the township. Even potato, they don't mow them, they don't cut them. I'm not going to get into that, but the solar panels is a much cleaner, efficient way of getting power to the majority of people. That's what it's about, supplying power. Energy, I work for the energy department under Bush and Cheney all over the country and in Canada. I work nuclear powerhouses, hot nukes. Bush and Reagan shut down the nuclear industry. Hardly any of them built. Now they brought them back. They are building them, okay? A lot of people against nuclear power plants. I myself, I like nuclear better than I did fossil fuel. I worked at Bickford-Restricted. I worked up at the big plant in Moscow where they're going to shut it down because of economic reasons, okay? Now, how are you going to replace that power? And another thing you better realize, them places, if you go look at Bickford, there's a lot of pollution potential there from fly ash left behind. Where if you have a contract with these people putting these solar panels in, I believe they can turn it into productive ground. And I've been talking to them about it. There's a lot of ways of using that ground. And I'm just sitting here thinking, just think how much water runoff there you could use. There may be a need for water. We just had a kind of a drought here, you know, and we still don't have enough rain for a lot of the crops. So there's a lot of ways of looking at it. I myself, I believe the farmer that owns that land has a right to do something with it. I can't see outlawing energy, any kind of energy project, you know, because this world is changed since I was a kid. It's changed a lot. I worked in Illinois and watched them bulldoze and level off the world's record farm ground. Have you ever been up in northwest Illinois? That's the richest farm ground, and they level it and build houses, okay? And I'm for the solar panel because energy is going to be a big problem for this country because the fossil fuels are a problem. And it's just a fact that people got to realize. Now, if people live next door to it and they don't like the view, I don't know, maybe they can plant some trees or make a deal, plant some trees where you don't see it, you know, put a green fence up. But as far as I'm concerned, I think the land needs to be used for the best use of the people. And I think the solar panel will be, just like that gas line. I'm not against running the gas line. I didn't like where they ran it. I think they should have ran it down 133 and come down through 32 where all the development's going to. But that's not my call. I'm just here because I'm going to put solar panels on my house as soon as I find out the right system that I want to use, because I have a friend that did it and it has helped his electric bill. And I'm very interested in the solar power because I've worked around nukes and everything else, and you have a high factor with the spent fuels and contamination from the nuclear they have to get rid of. That's the other problem. People have raised hell about it. I don't see where these panels present a big problem of pollution. I don't see it. I think it's a very clean energy to be used, and I'm for it. And you got to have it somewhere. That's what I got to say. I think it's a great deal myself.
Mr. Gabriel, did you do the sign-in sheet?
I'm just throwing their signs out.
Ma'am, can we turn the phone off?
That's his phone. I can't turn it off.
Okay. You'll turn it off when you go back, right?
I'm not a company.
Right. That's okay. That's all we need. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Do we have another speaker?
Mhm.
Let's get the residents first. Thank you.
I'm Chris King. I've been a resident of the county for about 27 years. Other speakers have had different perspectives. I'd like to look at it from a macroeconomic perspective. In this capitalist society, investment funds flow towards the most efficient competing industry. A simple Google search will tell you that the levelized cost of solar energy has been lower than that of coal-fired units for the last 4 years and is still dropping, whereas the cost of coal-fired units is increasing with the advent of carbon capture and untold millions in remediation of the toxic metal oxide ash pits at Bickford and Zimmer that before they leach into the water table and poison our water. What decision is made in these townships and this county and this state will have zero impact on the economic vector driving the whole country, the whole globe towards sustainable energy. There's another zero involved, and it was mentioned in the prayer. If there's a negative impact, a negative decision, there will be zero tax revenue. We've lost the tax revenue from Zimmer and Bickford, and it's affecting Moscow and New Richmond to the point where they may have to dissolve the village. We have solar panels on our house. And as you said, we don't have a bill. And what happens when there's a big solar spill? Nothing. What happens when there's a coal spill, an oil spill? A lot to clean up. The remediation of those ash pits is going to take a bundle. I'm suggesting it's fiscally responsible to consider the development of solar power plants in order to produce enough tax revenue to help the county. For instance, the Clermont Energy Project alone will produce about $1 million a year of revenue that will go towards educating our children, and that's what we're all looking at. Thank you.
Sir, did you sign the sheet?
Yes, he did.
And your last name was?
King, K-I-N-G.
Chris King.
Okay. Thank you.
But before you go on, you've reached the 30-minute limit, so you do have the right to extend public participation by a majority vote of the board.
Yeah.
Do we want to extend the public participation?
Yeah.
Can I make
You wanna
have a
vote?
motion?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to extend the public participation
Do I have a
portion of the meeting.
second?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. How many more do we have that want to speak today? Yes, sir, in the front or second row. That's you.
Thad Bauer. I've been in Clermont County 20 plus years. I'll tell you, I grew up in Northwest Cincinnati by the Rumpke dumps. And so my heart breaks for the people that are being affected by this. I'll go into this saying I'm ignorant to knowing exactly what's going on. I'm hoping that you folks can help with that. But all growing up through my childhood, everyone talked about Rumpke and how bad that was. But the question I just have to ask for everybody is, if not here, where? And it's easy to push your problems off onto everybody else. But if we can have some control over this, it sounds like if we don't put this restricted area in, you still have the right to say yes or no to anything going forward. If that's the case, I feel like we still have a power as a community. And I think it was you that said, hey, you want to get more involved to know exactly what's happening and what we can do to control this. I would hope that you guys would kind of keep that in mind. But if once we say no and you start blocking that, they will go other places. And I think there are a few people here that are saying solar is not the worst choice, because unless you're going to cut off all power, unless you're going to cut off all use of oil and gas and everything there, I at least think we should keep our options open and let this be something. Again, we have control, I think, that you can still say no to independent actions. If there's something going on bad here now, how do we fix that and make that better? Because I have to believe we can. But I just hate the idea of us going in and just shutting this down, because if we do, things will move someplace else. And it sounds like there's a good tax possibly implications for helping funding in the county. But I have to ask everyone, if not here, it's going to go somewhere. And is that fair to them versus us versus let's keep control and look at each particular option. That's it.
Thank you. Next one, please. Yes, sir.
Hello, I'm Thomas Ross, and I'm here on behalf of the Operating Engineers Local Union 18. I am in here in support of solar projects statewide. The operating engineers are individuals who operate heavy equipment such as bulldozers, excavators, backhoes, forklifts, and so on. The roads and bridges you drive on were most likely built by our members, your friends, family, and neighbors of Local 18, along with fellow union tradesmen and women. Solar projects provide our membership with numerous employment opportunities in high-paying wages, healthcare benefits, and apprenticeship programs can continue to grow because of the solar industry. Not only will these projects create jobs, but you can expect an economic impact as well. Additional tax money and clean energy for Ohio as results from this project. We encourage the Clermont County Commissioners to support the jobs of the men and women of Local 18 by approving the construction of solar projects in this county. And that is all I have.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good morning, President Batchelor and Commissioners Painter and Corky. Good to see you again. Thank you very much for the opportunity to appear before you today. My name is Brad Watson, and I'm the Senior Director of Community Affairs for Vistra, the parent company that owns the retired Zimmer Power Plant site here in Clermont County. Vistra is a Fortune 314 company, and we're also what's known as an integrated energy company. That is, we own and operate more than 50 power plants across the nation, and we sell the electricity generated into wholesale power markets. Although our corporate headquarters is in Texas, we have a large presence here in Ohio, and I'm happy to say we are growing. In Ohio, along with Zimmer, we own 6 operating power plants and 6 retail electric brands, the primary one being Dynegy. And as you may have seen in the news, Vistra announced in March it's acquiring Energy Harbor's nuclear power plants, 2 of which are in Ohio, and also Energy Harbor's retail customers. Providing the Energy Harbor acquisition is completed, Vistra would have more than 1 million customers in Ohio. Since 2019, Vistra has been investing billions of dollars developing and building solar generation and utility-scale energy storage projects. In Texas, California, Illinois, Pennsylvania, and now we are pursuing opportunities in Ohio. There's always competition for Vistra's investment dollars from other states, and with 7 plant sites in Ohio, Vistra has multiple opportunities for renewable energy investments in other counties. But we think the Zimmer site has great potential. That's why we filed with PJM to preserve the option of generating electricity at Zimmer. As we told you and other community leaders recently, Vistra filed an interconnection application with grid operator PJM last month to transfer some of the existing capacity interconnection rights at Zimmer from coal to potentially a hybrid generation facility of solar and an energy storage system. The filing requests interconnection to the PJM grid with 300 megawatts of solar and 500 megawatts of storage. The estimated capital investment is $600 million to $800 million. With the PJM interconnection process undergoing review, Vistra expects the new application study process, including the Zimmer filing, to begin in 2026. Our company is excited about investing in Clermont County again. It would mean repurposing a retired power plant site that already has all the interconnection infrastructure in place into a renewable energy hub. There would be construction and operations jobs, and importantly, there'd be the opportunity to rebuild the local tax base for New Richmond schools, the village of Moscow, Washington Township, and Clermont County that were all hit financially when Zimmer retired. Now, Vistra already operates 3 solar generation facilities in Texas. We also own and operate the largest energy storage project in the world in Moss Landing, California. And we own and operate a renewable project in Zimmer. The top solar module supplier we've used so far is a company called First Solar. I hope you've heard of it. It's the largest American-based solar manufacturer. First Solar's biggest plant is in Perrysburg, Ohio, near Toledo. Although it's early and no supplier has been selected yet for the potential Zimmer project, of course, we'll be certainly talking to First Solar. And think of this. Ohio would be the big winner if the solar panels installed at Zimmer were made right here in Ohio. There are clearly many positives for repurposing Zimmer with renewable energy. However, the resolution before you today from Washington Township would negatively and severely impact such an effort. As Vistra plans and builds more solar facilities around the nation, we hear and we understand the concerns of some communities regarding renewables and local land use issues. However, I want to be clear on an important distinction of what we would be proposing at Zimmer. Zimmer is already an industrial site. It's been used for power generation for decades, and Vistra's intention is to continue using the Zimmer property for making electricity or storing electricity for decades more. Although the technology for making electricity is changing, the land use for this proposed project is not. Vistra is growing and investing in Ohio. With the possibility of renewing Zimmer, we want Clermont County included in that growth to advance economic development, help local communities, and be a big part of the transition to a lower carbon emissions power grid. Thank you for your time and attention today, and as always, thank you for your public service.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak? Yes.
I would like to speak directly to, my name is Austin Clark. I'm 50 years old. I've lived here my whole life. And I would like to speak directly to, this may be your first visit to Clermont County. I've lived here my whole life. I own a farm that has been in my family since before Ohio was a state, since the 1790s. The solars would directly impact that farm because I've received countless invitations, countless offers. They come in the mail, they call you on the phone, they get your wife's number, they want you to sign these contracts. It's a very lucrative contract. Trust me, I got into the numbers with them. It's very lucrative. But the impact that it has on the land and the community is not worth it to us. We are here because we love this land. This is our county. This is where we live. This is not where you live. You live. This is where we live. The people of these townships that want the ban, they showed up in majorities and talked to their constituents. These are the constituents of the elected officials that put these together. All right. And so they have, by a majority, said, we do not want this in our community. We do not want your help. We do not want your money. We like our county the way it is. We do not want it covered up. I farm. The proposal that he's talked about, consumes a part of the land that we lease, that we raise grain on. We raise farmland to feed the people of this country. Now, I would rather have a sandwich at night than I would turn on my lights. And I would rather my children have food at the end of the day than to turn on the lights. We can figure out ways. She's got panels on her house. All right, so everybody put panels on her house. We don't need you. We can do it ourselves. In Clermont County, we do not need the solar. And the people of Clermont County and these townships have spoken, and they have told their elected officials that we would like to ban these solar systems. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak? Yes, Mr. McAfee.
Morning, Commissioners. My name is Andrew McAfee. I'm the Vice President of the Clermont Chamber of Commerce. I'm not here to speak about the map as a whole. I'm just simply here to express our, at the Chamber, strong support for Vistra's plans to redevelop the old Zimmer plant. As you know, Vistra is a leading integrated energy company with a long history of investing in Ohio. In recent years, Vistra has been investing billions of dollars in renewable energy projects, including solar and energy storage. The Zimmer plant is an ideal location for a renewable energy project. As Brad said, it's already an industrial site with all necessary infrastructure in place. So there'll be little to no impact on farmland or other sensitive areas. The project would create hundreds of construction jobs, operations jobs, and could generate millions of dollars in tax revenue for our local communities. The initial estimates, we could see between a $600 and $800 million capital investment for this county, which could be huge for Washington Township, the village of Moscow, and new schools. In addition, the project would help to advance the transition to a lower carbon emissions power grid. Solar and energy storage are two of the fastest growing renewable energy technologies, and they are essential for meeting our climate goals. Plus, Vistra has a proven track record of developing and operating safe and reliable energy projects. The bottom line is simple. Vistra could invest their time and resources anywhere they want, including their other projects here in Ohio. We're fortunate they are considering Clermont County for a project like this, and we offer our strong support for their plan. It's a win-win for the community and for our environment. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? Then at this.
Nope. Got one in the back. You want to speak?
Hold on, Dennis. Sir, did you sign in? Your name?
My name is Josh Eisen.
Eisen?
Yes, of Washington Township. I have a PhD in epidemiology. And a couple points made earlier, great points. The absence of data doesn't mean the absence of risk. Okay? That is a fact. That is not my opinion. Risk to public health, environmental health and quality, and water quality. I'm on the board of Clermont County Farm Bureau, Board of Directors, and I'm the policy chair. Ohio Farm Bureau is actually neutral on this topic. We have members that are very supportive and 100% against. This is a very complex issue. I'll give you that. Do it the right way. Don't put public health, our communities, our children, our grandchildren, and their the future health at risk. These communities mean something to people. I just say, let's do it the right way if it's going to be done. Don't rush into things, because we can have more conversations and actually look at the problem from a complex perspective, multidisciplinary, data-driven, just like you've done on the broadband. Love it. Take a step back. Why does it have to be so hasty? That's all. Thank you.
Yeah. Dennis, you had
I had a question. Earlier on, when we started, you mentioned a referendum.
Name.
Do I need to stand?
Please.
Well, just give us your
We
name.
can't answer questions at this time, Dennis.
Well, you mentioned a referendum that could be voted on. Mr. Schreiber did. How would you vote on that? I mean, would it be the 7 townships that are up on the board right now? Or would it be a total Clermont County vote?
Mr. Bickford, do you want to answer that again?
Yes. It is a county vote.
So even the townships who aren't part of this would be voting on that referendum?
It would be individual referendum issues.
Dennis, state your name just for the record,
Dennis
please.
Cooper, Fortune Township trustee.
Thank you.
Want me to go get Brian?
That's, Brian would have to answer that question.
I'll just go get him. I'll be right back.
Just take a 5-minute recess.
We're gonna, can I have a 5-minute recess while we're waiting on him to come up, please?
Sure. So moved.
I'll second.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes, so right around 11 o'clock.
Thank you.
We are going to go ahead and resume. Mr. Shrive, you're going to give us an explanation.
So my understanding is there are two questions that have been raised. The first is whether the board can vote on a map today to prohibit solar in townships other than the 7 that were identified in the notice of the meeting. And my reading of the revised code is that no, you cannot. So the board could, and I take no position, but to give examples, the board could adopt a map that prohibits large-scale solar wind in all 7 of those townships, in the unincorporated areas of those 7 townships. Could do 6 of them, could do 5 of them, could do any combination there or any portions therein of the townships that were noted in the notice of the meeting. But again, as I don't believe that statute would allow the commissioners today to vote to add Ohio Township or Miami Township, since those were not in the notice. I think the second question dealt with the referendum. If there were a referendum, that is provided for in 30359, and that would be a countywide referendum. So if the commissioners were, and just to give kind of the most extreme example, adopt a map that identified 4 parcels in Williamsburg Township as restricted, and the rest of the county free and open to all the solar and wind. If someone wanted to referendum that, they would referendum it, getting the signatures from around the county, and then the vote would be of all voters of the county. And anywhere in between, it's always going to be the same number of the same percentage of the voters for the signatures to get on the ballot, the same number of votes that would need to pass, same countywide vote. Were there any other questions from the commissioners?
No.
Dennis, does that answer your question?
So what you're saying today, the commissioners can only act on the 7 townships
Today.
Who have submitted resolutions. But if they would act, if the decision is to prohibit, tomorrow someone in the county could get a petition and get a referendum going, and it would be a countywide vote.
Correct.
And it would involve the other townships that's not even part of this today.
The vote would be by the county.
By
Yes.
the county.
Yes.
Okay.
And let's say it is a prohibition.
Mm-hmm.
Can we get a referendum to overturn that prohibition in the county?
Yeah, that's the only referendum.
That's what I was.
Right. You can't, if the commissioners were to vote to not adopt any restriction, you don't get a right to referendum that to force the adoption of a restriction. Okay.
So you were saying that they can do a spot, like Tate Township, they can vote not having one Tate Township.
They can do it by parcel, by tract, by township, by the whole county, but it's any portion of the unincorporated areas of townships. But they have to come back. But if the commissioners want to come back down the road, you're going to start the clock on referendum again for that. You're going to create opportunities for referendum of the additional maps. So, commissioners, I would just say, I think what statute provides for is that the commissioners can pass a resolution to restrict what the statute refers to as economically significant wind farms, a large wind farm or a large solar facility in all or portions of the unincorporated sections of the county. However, you have to do that at a meeting that's called, or at a regular meeting or special meeting that's kind of called for that purpose and noted, given the 30 days notice of that purpose. So today, the commissioners can vote for this map or some portion of this map, or not vote at all.
But because the notification has only been for these 7 particular townships, that's all that pertains to this meeting today.
Correct. And the commissioners could, if there's inclination to add additional townships or to the proposed map, they could take no vote today and set up a new notice another hearing for 30 plus days, or another meeting, I should say, for 30 plus days to consider the entire county or some other additional portions of the county.
Would it have to be a no vote, or could just?
Or you could vote, or you could vote to this for this. It's just you could vote for the 7 or some portion of the 7 that are there today. You could not vote at all.
You could ask for an extension of time on it to add the other ones or not?
Well, you'd have to set up another. You still have to send another notice, but essentially you're extending the time. Correct.
Okay. And what about the veto rule?
I'm sorry.
What about veto rule?
Separate from that is if there is a I'm trying to remember what that section was. I had that.
I'm sorry. I know I'm putting you on the spot,
I
but
had that up earlier. I should be able to find that. The
Veto is 30362. I'm sorry, 3036. Yeah, 30362, Brian.
If the township
you have that?
submit, then they come back later.
I've got, Brian's probably got it. 30362 talks about when it's applied for, the commissioners can pass a resolution prohibiting its construction or modifying its construction.
So that is the when there's a large, just for example, large scale solar project is proposed for any unincorporated area of the county, or within the county, within the county, the proposed builder developer has a public meeting. We've seen those before already, and then the commissioners then have 90 days after that meeting to take an action. They can prohibit the construction entirely. They can limit the boundaries of the proposed utility facility, or nothing, right? And just sit on it, which is a kind of de facto approval, at least on that level. If you don't act within that 90 days, it's presumed that you've approved it, essentially.
thank you.
Yes, Dennis.
I have a follow-up question. So let's say you commissioners vote to prohibit in these 7 townships, including Washington. And we sit down with our good friends from Vistra and decide, well, their plan looks good, and we'd like to take that prohibition away. Can we do that? Are we permitted to do that? Can we say, okay, we've met with Vistra and sort of like the plan they're going to bring to us, but it's going to be more local control for our folks? Because we do want to see something redeveloped at Zimmer, but we want to have some control over what these folks are going to do. That's what I'm hearing from our citizens. So can we do that? Is that permitted?
The board would have to call another noticed meeting to amend the map. So the first thing that would have to happen is Washington would have to be, if the entirety of the unincorporated area of Washington Township is prohibited, and now and then at some future date, there's a desire to unprohibit that area, they would have to have a meeting like this and amend the map.
It can be done.
It can be done.
Okay.
If they can today make a decision on Dade Township, correct?
That was one of the noticed townships, yes.
Yes.
Because I talked to people in township, the representatives, they do not want it. We have 2 trustees here. Every meeting, about all meetings, the place is jam-packed. We got to take the fire trucks out. People don't want it to take township, period.
Nestlewood is one stage of 4 is going in out there. So we have about 40% of our township is agricultural land. We don't want solar panels in the watershed. You know, what are we going to be drinking? This is so new. We don't know. We don't know.
Extend the
You see the numbers that we're drinking today.
public participation needs to be extended.
We need
I mean,
to.
we're,
Another 30 minutes if we're going to do
well,
it.
and we've kind of gotten away with what public participation is. So
Yes.
you guys got to get back to just the spirit of public participation. I think Brian's answered the questions that you had.
Thank you, Brian.
Any other questions from the commissioners?
No.
No, thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
out.
Thank you.
Thank you. I got a question here. We're talking
Hang on,
about
hang
shutting
on,
this project
hang on.
down.
1 second, 1 second.
Hold on. Couple things have to happen here. First
We
off,
have
we're
building
still,
permits, right?
we're still in public participation, right? So this is not a discussion with the board, and you have extended another 30 minutes. You need to do that again if you would like to keep going.
Yes.
Trying to keep
Do
within
we-
your
do
rules.
We have to do it for 30 minutes?
That's what
That's
you
the
extended for
rules.
unless you want to go more.
Yes. What?
Well, who will, I just wonder, are they talking about stopping this project?
We have to do something legally here.
I move we extend public participation. for
Do I
another
have
30
a second?
I will second that.
Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. We have to follow procedures here, sir. Okay, so now
Yeah, I know, but
State your name again.
I
state your
kinda-
name and again and everything.
I built 2 or 3 houses in this
Name.
house.
You have to give the clerk your name.
Oh, William Gabriel.
William Gabriel,
Your address.
what's your address?
So I got a building permit and it's all issued by the building department of Clermont County, and all the zoning rules and that allow me to build, okay? I also own a farm in Sardinia. There's no zoning whatsoever. I can build whatever I want. Now, I'm just wondering, are there going to be some legal ramifications from this for expenses? And who's going to pay for all this? I mean, you could get into some serious lawsuits here with the permits and building, and it has to be zoned for that first off. It has to be zoned. I don't know how they classify that, but to me, it should have been classified and zoned and pre-approved before these people invest all their money. I mean, we shouldn't be here to put a company out of business putting in energy. And I'm just saying, if I was building something and they'd come back in and I'm halfway started and got all the permit, oh, we don't like that. We don't like the color of your house. We don't like the way you do your yard, and that goes on in Batavia Township, but it's in the rules when they start. Subdivisions have rules. I only buy agricultural zone property. I don't buy no subdivision property or nothing or houses in it because I know how complicated it can get. I've got 2 houses up there now I'm working on. And I'd only got in the house business because of a divorce and losing a house. And I found out that's the best way for me to supplement my income. I like Clermont County, don't get me wrong, but, we got a lot of things going on here, rights of the owners and farming. I mean, it's very complicated. It's not something you just go in there and say, oh, we're going to have a referendum and stop it. I don't think it'll work that way. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm sure there's a lot of laws involved in this. I'm just hoping we can resolve this and maybe come up with a better plan and a better use of the land. Just not stop it. I mean, I don't know how much money it costs the county to do something like this. But I have a farm in Sardinia and I go buy them solar panels. It don't bother me a bit. I go buy them every day, and all that electric is sold to Cincinnati. It's already spoken for. So.
Okay, thank you. We've extended. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
Commissioner, it's comments.
Comments.
This is not discussion.
I know.
I'm John Wilson with Tate Township. I am a trustee out there, and it's, as you all know, with everything's been going on since February. We have been bombarded by all of our citizens, major concerns about the solar and everything, because they saw it starting to break ground in October. I'll just give you, we had 175 people show up at the February meeting, and we didn't get a full count of everybody in there, but there was about 4 people that said, yeah, well, they said that they were not for or against it, but they didn't want any regulation on their property. The rest of the people all said no to solar. And like someone else up here said, many of the, just about every month of the meeting ever since, there's been several citizens there. The citizens asked us to stand up. They voted me in office a little about a year and a half ago to represent the people. The people are coming to us and saying, the majority of them saying that they do not want it. And they just ask, all of us are here because we were elected. The majority ruled, they put us in our position. Well, in Tate Township, overwhelmingly, the majority has said no to solar. So I'd just like to ask for you to take that into consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am. You are signed in?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Dawn Osborne from Washington Township.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a farmer. I'm just a resident. But I live in the valley in Moscow. And I will get the runoff of whatever comes down the pike. And unfortunately, I do not have city water. So I am a victim, well, not a victim, but I am a product of needing the rainwater and runoff water for my gardens. I'm trying to go organic. Scares the living daylights out of me knowing that the contamination that's coming off of these solar panels, and you can't say that they aren't contaminated. They are contaminated. You can guarantee that? Yeah, I really trust the World Health Organization right now.
This discussion is to the board, not between.
So this is my concern as a resident, personal, because Moscow, Zimmer is behind me. I bought the property because Zimmer was behind me. I've had no problem whatsoever with the fly ash or whatever. I mean, other than my car has to be washed frequently and everything else from the fly ash. But I do feel that I'm not the only person in Moscow and Washington Township and Tate Township that is just a resident, not a farmer per se, but is going to be directly affected. Another thing here's just a comment and a food for thought. These solar panels are doing what? They're reflecting the light of the sun. It never hits the ground.
No.
On the farms, it's reflecting the light. What does it do to the ground? We're not warming our ground when we're reflecting the sun, are we? So it's something to think about. And I also was looking at some of the statistics that you had on how many acres. Can I ask? I can't ask him a question. How many acres does it take to make the 1,450 megawatts that Zimmer was producing? It is probably more than all of Clermont County could even think of. And I've read many articles where they're by 2030, they're going to shut all of our coal power plants in Ohio. We cannot create enough energy now. And once we go to all these electric cars and then we're doing solar, we are not going to have enough electric. That's, everybody needs to learn how to live on candles because that's what we're going to be. Power outages, rain, snow. If we have a snow winter like they had up in northern Ohio or in Canada, what happens to the solar then? What power do we have? So my concern is to look at the big picture. Since about 2010, there's been this push to do environmental, get rid of coal, get rid of gas, get rid of all this, let's go solar. And it's not necessarily everybody's desire. And I hope that you do hear that everybody has concerns, not just necessarily the farmers, but I feel for the farmers. I really do. I feel for everybody because this is controversy on both sides and I can feel the pros and cons. But look at the big picture because there is a huge picture out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment before we move on?
May I say one last thing? I know I've had my 5 minutes and I promise I won't take 5 more.
No. Yes, go ahead.
I knew I should have spoken last because we've had some eloquent speakers and I'm sure they've got people that write these speeches for them. I'm just a country girl, don't have all that. But I just want to say a lot of people that got up here and spoke today that are for the solar, I believe that a lot of them do not live in our township and they are not facing it one street over, and they are not living in the homes of the people that have to walk out their door every day and see it. So you can have your opinion, and that's great because we're all entitled to it, but you don't live there. You haven't earned a living and put everything into your homes there. So you can say what you will say, but at the end of the day, you don't live there. And what I would ask of everybody here that is for solar, take a drive out to Oak Corner and see what you think about it. And then ask yourself, do you want to live next to that? I can guarantee the answer is going to be no. And the only reason the answer would be yes is because your pockets are going to be lined. Well, there's more to life than money. That's what I want to say. Don't tell us what we need when you don't live there. You don't live there. Go in your community and build it and live next to it. Don't come in ours. That's what's fair. That's what's fair. And that's what we're asking.
Thank you. Dennis, you got a quick one?
No, I'm gonna.
Because we were only supposed to speak once, but.
I just asked
I think my question generated, but I'm going to speak now. Heard Mr. Watson get up and make Dennis Cooper, Washington Township trustee. We did have a public hearing, and we probably had 75 to 100 folks there, including Mr. Austin back here who was at that meeting. But anyway, of the 75 to 100 folks there wasn't one person who was a proponent of solar. Now, I am pragmatic. I've got what my dad used to call horse sense. I like the redevelopment at Zimmer. We've looked at that. But we want to have control. Our citizens want to have, we lost control in 1984 when the thing was converted from a nuke plant to a coal plant. We lost complete control. We had people come down, just like Mr. Watson, only back in those days it was AEP, that give us a line of a bull, and now we're living with the results of that. I invite anybody to come down to our township and spend time on 743 and 756 and smell the stench that comes off that landfill every day. Every day, and it hasn't gone away. It's gotten worse. And the other part I don't understand is the landfill was built for Zimmer. They're hauling ash from Miami Fort to that landfill every day. You didn't hear that, but they are. And we got to live with that. We want to do what is right for our citizens. I was elected to represent them, not the other townships, and they came and they spoke to us. I have not found one resident in our township that is a proponent of solar panels. And the other thing he didn't explain is they own a vast amount of land, and on that land at the crossroads at 743 and 756, I know that's where they want to put these solar panels. They have to generate as much milliwattage as they're asking for. The site down at Moscow is not that big. So they're going to expand it out into our township. And our residents don't want to drive by there and see solar panels daily. Now, if it's done properly, we'll sit and we'll talk to them. But to just carte blanche come out and say we're going to do this thing, no. Our citizens are against that. That's all I've got to say.
Anyone else? Okay.
Public hearing to close. We'll just move on with the agenda.
Yes, please. Sure.
Tom Niehaus, 1131 Little Indian Creek Road, New Richmond. I'm here with two hats on today. I represent Vista Energy, but I'm really here as a resident. I have solar on my home, like several other people have spoken. There's a lot of misinformation about solar. I spent 12 years in the General Assembly, most of that time working on energy issues. And I can tell you it's a very complex, it's a confusing issue, and there's a lot of misinformation about what solar panels do and don't do. Just as Mr. Cooper said, doing something carte blanche, is a problem. I see it as a problem too. If you carte blanche just accept a ban, in particular in Washington Township, my fear is that Vistra is going to go someplace else because they have other options. So my request is to think about it. Give us time. We'll be talking to the township. Vistra will be talking to them, but this project is years away. But if you're a member of any company and you're trying to decide where you're going to deploy your capital, where you're going to invest, and you look around, in our case, you look around Ohio and you go, well, okay, Portsmouth is pretty welcoming. They've got a facility out there. Let's put the facility in Portsmouth. Clermont County is not as welcoming, so we're not going to come to Clermont County. If you take a carte blanche approach to it and at least don't think about carving out a site for redevelopment on an energy site that already exists, you make it very difficult to develop that site in the future for an energy project. So just be considerate of that the action that you take today could have ramifications for years to come. There's a lot of discussion that needs to be had about solar, and in particular solar redevelopment at the Zimmer site, and I would ask you to take time to consider that. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Bickford, what do we move on now?
Sure. Yeah, if that's all for public participation, yes, you can move on with your agenda.
Okay. This time we will move on with the rest of the agenda that we have before us. Item D, consent agenda. Board, you've had this in time to review. Do I have a motion to accept as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, Gail?
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. Item E is the non-consent agenda. Starts on page 5. Item 9, recommendation that the Board of County Commissioners adopt resolution number 086-23, resolving to approve payments to vendors in the total amount of $2,186,028 as set forth in the BCC approval invoice report for checks dated June 21st, 2023, BCC directed prepaid invoice report and/or the procurement card transaction report as presented by the county auditor on June 20th, 2023, and further authorizing the county auditor to issue warrants for same pursuant to section 319.16 of the Ohio Revised Code. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call, Gail?
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. Item 10, Mary?
Morning, Commissioners. Item 10 is a request to increase the 2023 annual appropriations for the general fund for 2 different retirement payouts. The first one is the Adult Detention Correction Center's budget of $4,563.65. And the other one is in the Prosecutor's Common Pleas Criminal Division in the amount of $18,521.76.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 10. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I will second.
Can we tell them they can't retire?
Yes, we can do that.
Roll
Don't know if
call,
it'll help.
Gail?
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mary. Mr. Bickford?
Item number 11, it's a recommendation to adopt resolution number 087-23 to endorse the 2023 Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy prepared by the Ohio Valley Regional Development Commission and authorize the county to participate in OVRDC for fiscal year 2024 and to remit the sum of $42,161, which represents our participatory share for payment on or after January 1st, 2024, and further to support the Ohio Valley Regional Development Commission's Economic Development District Planning Partnership Investment Grant Program with the United States Department of Commerce for the period of 1/1/24 through 12/31/24. So, Board, this is our annual participation in OVRDC. As you know, they're a great resource for us in the more rural parts of the county.
Yes. Board, we've had the reading of item number 11. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. Is Commissioner DeRose here?
Yes.
You're hiding behind that blue hat. I didn't see you.
Good morning,
Good
Commissioner.
morning.
Recommendation of Robert S. Lay, County Sheriff, with the concurrence of Thomas Igle, County Administrator, to authorize Bonnie Batchelor, President of the Board of County Commissioners, to execute the sub-grant award agreement for sub-grant number 2022 DLLEF 5814 by and between the County of Clermont, Ohio, and the Ohio Department of Public Safety, Office of Criminal Justice Services, P.O. Box 182632, 1970 West Broad Street, Columbus, Ohio 43218, 2632, for funding through the Ohio Drug Law Enforcement Fund for the project entitled Clermont County Drug Unit in the amount of $96,906.62, with a required cash match in the amount of $32,302.21 to be provided from the 2022-23 annual appropriations for the county sheriff and or to be provided to the county sheriff for the Narcotics Law Enforcement Trust Fund 2503 for a total project budget of $154,319.24 for the period of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024, for and on behalf of the county sheriff for the County of Clermont, Ohio, as designated agency for the administration and the implementation thereof, pursuant to and in compliance with the terms and conditions set forth therein, and in concert for the grant application filed electronically by the county sheriff on or about January 25th, 2023.
Thank you. They sent you to read the long one, didn't they?
I sure did.
Board, we've had the reading of item number 12. Do I have a motion to approve as presented?
So moved.
Oh, second.
Any discussion?
The only discussion was the total amount 129,
The total
208.83. Do we have the same number?
amount
Yeah.
is $154,319.
You're reading a different motion.
Oh, okay.
Here. We have returned that one, and this is the one that's
Wonder why.
actually right.
Yeah, I was
I thought I heard
confused too.
something different there.
129.
I like my number better.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, $129,208.83.
Yeah, we got it.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
You okay now?
We okay?
We're okay.
Okay.
That's correct.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, Connie.
Good morning.
Item number 13 is a recommendation to adopt resolution number 088-23, resolving to execute subgrant agreement G-2425-11-6120 between the Clermont County Board of Commissioners on behalf of the Clermont County Department of Job and Family Services, the Ohio Department of Medicaid, and the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services, Office of Fiscal and Monitoring Services, Bureau of County Finance and Technical Assistance, located in Columbus, Ohio. For Clermont County to continue to receive funding awarded to the state of Ohio by the United States Department of Health and Human Services and the United States Department of Agriculture for state fiscal years 2024 and 2025 to perform all County Department of Job and Family Services duties as set forth in Section 329.04 of the Ohio Revised Code, as well as all public children's services duties and all child support enforcement duties, effective July the 1st of 2023 through June 30th of 2025, pursuant to Sections 307.98, 501.21, and 5160.30 of the Ohio Revised Code, and in compliance with the terms and conditions specified therein.
Thank you, Connie. Board, we've had the reading of item number 13. Do I have a motion to approve?
Make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, Gail?
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Morning, Suki.
Good morning, Board. Item 14 is a recommendation to adopt Resolution 8923, and this is resolving to authorize and approve the East Loveland Avenue Bridge Replacement Project as part of the Clermont County Transportation Improvement District Regional Transportation Improvement Program, and also to delegate the Transportation Improvement District to cooperate with the City of Loveland to proceed to contract for and manage the construction services required for the project in an amount not to exceed $954,110.30, with $417,373 funding provided to the Transportation Improvement District through an OPWC grant to the county. It's grant number DJZ03. And the county engineer will provide the balance of the funds to the Transportation Improvement District.
For the reading of item number 14, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. Number 15.
Item 15 is a recommendation to execute an agreement between the Board of County Commissioners of Clermont County and the Board of Trustees of Union Township. And this is relative to the Binning Road landslide project located in Union Township, with the Clermont County engineer to pursue funding from Ohio Public Works Commission in the form of a grant that will reimburse the 79% of the project cost, or $243,964.64, of the $308,816 estimated cost for project repairs, with the required local match of funds in the amount of $64,851 to be provided by the county engineer through Union Township in compliance with their terms and conditions of the agreement.
Thank you. Board, we've had the reading of item number 15. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank
Suki.
you.
Morning,
Hi,
Commissioners. Item 16 is a recommendation to accept the following grant of sewer easement with rights of reentry for repair and replacement granted and conveyed to Clermont County by the grantor outlined in the table for utility purposes for project number 6402-60202 for the Branch Hill Guinea Road Sewer Extension Project in Miami Township, and to execute the replat for the same. This is the last easement required for the project. The grantor of the easement is Jackson Woods Residential Owners Association, and the compensation that's listed will be paid from Miami Township. There is a memorandum of understanding for the project with Miami Township.
Thank you. Board, we've had the reading of item number 16. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. Thank
And
you.
Nancy, before you leave, how was your trip? Good.
It was very good, thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Gail, you have the next three.
Yes, I do. This is a training and travel request or reimbursement of expenses. A recommendation to approve the following requests for reimbursement of expenses for training and travel according to the policies and procedures of the Board of County Commissioners and in compliance with the annual appropriations for calendar year 2023 and any amendments. The first is from the Clermont County Board of Commissioners for Commissioner David Painter in an estimated not to exceed amount of $827.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
I will second. Roll call, Gail?
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Abstain.
The next one, under the same heading of travel and training request reimbursement of expenses, is a recommendation to approve Commissioner Bonnie J. Batchelor in an estimated amount not to exceed $55.
I'm a big spender.
So moved.
I'll second that one.
Roll call.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
I will abstain.
And again, under training and travel requests, reimbursement of expenses, Commissioner Corcoran, Loveland, Ohio, estimated not to exceed $55.
I spent a lot too.
So
Gotta
moved.
quit that. I'll second. Roll call.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
I'll abstain.
We don't eat as much as you.
I get it.
Okay, Greg, you have item 20?
I have item 20. It's a disposition of designation of certain unincorporated areas of Clermont County as restricted relative to the construction of economically significant wind farms, large wind farms, and large solar facilities pursuant to sections 30357 and 30358 of the Ohio Revised Code. Now, Board, if I may here, I have a resolution number 90-23, which does designate certain unincorporated areas as shown on the map here as restricted for those types of facilities. And if I may, just for a second, 30358 of the Ohio Revised Code talks about how Board of County Commissioners may adopt a resolution doing this. It also says that at least 30 days prior to this resolution, you must notify all school districts, townships, and municipal corporations within the restricted area, and you must place the map at a library, every library in the county, and you must put this in a paper of general circulation. All that was done, identifying today as the date of your public meeting, which you did have. So you now have the ability to take action on this resolution, and the resolution prohibits these types of facilities in Batavia, Jackson, Monroe, Stone Lick, Tate, Washington, and Williamsburg townships. Again, Mr. Shrive has indicated you have the ability to modify this. We would follow the exact same procedure we have done in the past, or with what we did with this one. We do have 2 other townships that have submitted, so I will be running those through the process as well. So this will come back before you for an addition of those townships as well. So this is your disposition, your discussion. Just want to kind of lay out.
That resolution number will be.
This one right here is 90-23.
90-23?
That's correct.
So you need a motion on the floor at this point?
We have a motion for the disposition, so the next step is for you to decide to take action on this resolution that's presented. It does prohibit, as per the map that was presented.
Well, Board, we have heard a lot of information today, and this is item number 20 on the agenda. So at this time, I would accept a motion to either
It hasn't been brought out onto the board, right? You need a motion.
I need a
Right.
motion.
On this resolution.
To bring
Yes.
to the board.
Motion from the board on the disposition of this. Staff has not provided a recommendation based on this is a disposition. So the motion is to be crafted from the dais.
I don't think they understand.
I don't think we do either.
No, I don't think they understand what you're saying. You want a motion to bring the resolution.
The resolution's before you.
Okay.
County to dispose of this resolution, either you're going to.
Okay, so you're voting on the resolution.
At this point, this is a resolution brought for your consideration. Most of your resolutions are recommendation to approve, so that's your motion. This is a disposition. So this decision on what to do with this resolution comes from the board. So right now,
So now we put it on the floor
exactly.
to make a decision.
That's correct.
And then we will vote. So the only thing
Correct.
we're doing is putting it on the floor by making that motion.
Correct.
And this is on these townships?
Yes.
Those 7 townships.
Yes.
That is correct.
Yes. Right.
And you're still permitted to have discussion and just like you would any other resolution.
motion first.
Okay,
Correct.
I'll make the motion to put it on the floor then.
Okay.
I have a second.
I'll second that.
All right.
Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes,
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
it's on the floor.
Yes, it is.
So discussion is open.
Yes.
You've heard a lot of testimony here today. You know, there is testimony throughout the county. Many of these meetings that were talked about, I attended these meetings in person, just as informational sessions, so I could hear the actual conversations, the discussions, people who were for, people who were against, what the features were that they felt they liked, what they didn't like, what they didn't want in their community, and what they did. And before I would bring this to a vote, one of the things that I would note is that today is a different day when it comes to politics. You know, most people vote for candidates that want politics out of their life. They want representation that doesn't reach within their everyday lives, and they want politics removed from things that affect their decision-making process. I think we all can understand that, and there are many people who do. Obviously reaching in and restricting people's property and what they can do with that and make those decisions is a reach in of government. And typically that's not what people vote for today. What people want is they want government removed from their lives. However, that's my opinion. And my opinion is just like everybody else. And you didn't elect me to have an opinion. What you elected me to do was represent the good people of Clermont County. And you have spoken loud and you have spoken clear. There is a avenue for this board. And keep in mind, this is a decision of 3 people on a board of commissioners. No one else has a legislative authority to make this decision except the commissioners of this county. You can recommend, you can send in potential resolutions, but that doesn't mean that this commission has to find in the favor of those resolutions and for or against. But again, in my particular opinion, and I can only speak for one, you didn't elect me to force my opinion on you. You elected me to represent you, the people of Clermont County, and the people have spoken. I would be inclined to restrict these areas that have been requested in these 7 townships as they have wanted, for well knowing that if the good people of that township, again, and the trustees that represent them, have a project that's brought before them that makes sense, and it's something that you want to pursue, that obviously this commission could consider that and could unrestrict particular parcels as needed. But like we do any other economic development project, we listen to the people of that community. So that's my opinion.
Do I have a second?
We already have the second. We're just in a discussion mode at this
No.
time.
Correct.
And we'll call for,
That's
then
true.
if you want to proceed, we would call for a vote.
Well, you would need to indicate how you want to vote.
All right.
You're discussing it now. You would need
Right,
to
that's
vote,
true.
motion to approve, deny, or table. You have all kinds of options now.
I would just add to what you said. I absolutely agree. We were elected to represent the majority of the people that speak to us and express their wishes within their own townships.
Mhm.
These townships have made it clear what they want, but I do like the idea that if they want to come back later, and if there is a certain portion, and if good people of those townships decide they want to take a portion of that land, that they could come back and ask for that to be granted. So I have to listen to what the people say they want. So,
And there is that option out there for referendum to bring it back in, and each township could come in individually. It doesn't have to be as a group, and it doesn't have to be the people who have delayed getting their responses into us, who we will deal with next. I think the townships did a great job in getting this information out, as did our economic development department, making sure that everyone was informed. I did stay away from those meetings because I was given guidance not to go to those meetings, so that I did not get overindulge in what this group wanted or that group did not want, and to make my own opinion. And as you said, Commissioner Painter, you're correct. It is 3 different views. And the views today are to represent what the people have told us that they wanted. That's my position in it. So if we want to call for a vote at this time, I don't know if we're in that order.
So I would,
can I just say one more
Go
thing
ahead.
before you do?
Sure.
And what Commissioner Corcoran said, I too was told by an attorney I shouldn't go to the meetings to.
Make an independent decision.
Right, and that's the only reason I didn't attend any of your meetings. But at this time, Commissioner Painter, I interrupted you. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
no problem.
Before you guys make any motions, I just want to make clear that what you are potentially voting on today, large solar facilities, 50 megawatts and above, economically significant wind farms, 5 to 49 megawatts, and large wind farms, 50 or more megawatts. If it does not meet those definitions, it becomes truly a township issue that this does not apply to. So I just want to make that clear.
Thanks, Greg, for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
And before we move that, since we've talked about attorneys, no one can ever say that Commissioner Painter listens to attorneys, right or wrong. But what I would say is, we're pro energy when it comes to the state. We all understand that, look, there are people that aren't in agreement with solar energy. They aren't in agreement with electric cars and a lot of different things, but we're the most industrialized nation in the world. And if we have the ability to produce energy in a carbonless environment, then why wouldn't you do it? What, because other countries don't do it? That's not really a good reason. So, I think because you have the ability to take a look at these projects as they come forward, you still have the ability to unrestrict areas. If that's what, some project that would come up within a township allows that, I would move that we restrict these projects as we have been asked to do in these 7 townships.
Is
Yep.
that your motion?
That's my motion.
Do I have a second?
I would second that motion.
Any discussion more before we go on to the vote?
That's
Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
And that was for resolution 090-23, right?
Thank you. Okay. Moving on to item F, additions to the agenda, Greg.
Yes, I have one for your consideration. It's a letter of support for the Ohio Persistent Cyber Improvement Program.
Can I have a motion to add this to the agenda, please?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
A recommendation of the Board of County Commissioners to authorize Bonnie J. Batchelor, President of the Board, on behalf of the Board, to execute a letter of support for the Ohio Persistent Cyber Improvement Program for local government, created as a part of Ohio's comprehensive cybersecurity plan, funded by a federal grant through the state and local cybersecurity program. Board, if you recall, I came before you last week, talked about this, and the board indicated they would like support for this particular letter. So this is now authorization for President Batchelor to sign this.
Thank you. Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I will second.
Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. At this time, item G is an executive session pursuant to section 121.22 G3 of the Ohio Revised Code to confer with the prosecuting attorney concerning disputes involving the public body that are the subject of pending or imminent court action. Can I have a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. Thank you all for coming today, and we'll be back after the executive session. We have returned from executive session where we went into pursuant to section 121.22 G3 of the Ohio Revised Code to confer with the prosecuting attorney concerning disputes involving the public body that are the subject of pending or imminent court action. No action or decisions were made. At this time, we'll move on to item I, member comments.
Great meeting today. Lots of people participating. Wonderful to see people that have an opinion about where they live and where they work and where they raise their family come in and express, their desires. And it's a great opportunity for the board to support them. So
Well,
great.
They got to speak and we got to hear
You bet.
express their opinions. Commissioner Corcoran?
No further comments. Thank you.
Well, at this time,
It's always me that goes,
Oh, I remember.
I just have to remind everyone that when we started our meetings in January and we set the dates for meetings, we said that we would have session every Monday until the end of June. But we don't need to do that. So June 26th, we will not have a session that date, and we will start only doing sessions on Wednesdays.
I think the board has to vote on that because they established those dates. So you do have a session on the 26th. So the board would need an
we have
action to
vote
cancel
to
that.
cancel that meeting. And I have a motion then to cancel the meeting on June 26th.
So move.
I was second.
Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes. So from now on, Wednesday only, right?
Yes.
Okie dokie. Now I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll
So-
make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.